Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Mojito Movement. And this week I'm joined by someone I'm absolutely buzzing to have on, Mike Chadwick, and I will get him to introduce himself in a moment. Normally we would cheers the mojito at this point, but yours is on delivery, so we're just waiting for that to arrive. So we can't officially cheers, but I will have a swig of mine.
Mine will be here in about 10 minutes. I've just sent one of the best doctors in physical development out to get me a mojito, mate. So I don't know who delivered yours, but mine's pretty clever. In fact, you know what? He's got academically incredible. Common sense, he's all right. So I don't know what's coming back here.
Well,
But
let's
yeah, it
fix
will be
up.
here soon, mate.
Excellent. Well, we will when it arrives, we will cheers the mojito and kick things off properly. But in the meantime, introduce yourself. Let everybody know who you are and where they can find you.
Okay, mate. Yeah, so I'm Mike Chadwick. You can find me on most social media handles at Coach Mike Chadwick. And yeah, I'm a former paratrooper, Special Forces Support Group operator, then Royal Army Physical Training Corps instructor, and subsequently left the army a few years back to take up full-time coaching. And now I run one of the leading performance centres in the country, where we hire teams of doctors and sports scientists as opposed to PTs, and we look at testing elite athletes or providing elite athlete testing for normal everyday people. So I had a dream a few years back that I wanted to make testing and coaching at the elite level accessible to every person. And when you do that, big things happen. So that's what I do now.
Love it, mate. Absolutely love it. And the reason why I wanted to get you on is I sat and listened to your talk at IFS, and absolutely loved every minute of it. And I was like, I've got to get this guy on the podcast. I think the conversation will be exceptional. So and before we kind of dig into it, because there's so much that I want to go into that in terms of how you work and what you do and why you do it. But take us back to the start. So obviously military background. Take us through your journey in terms of when you joined, what it was like, and how you kind of began to transition into what you do now.
Yeah. So most of my life or progression in life has happened through mishap and misfortune. There's been nothing that I've strongly thought about and pushed towards up until I left. So I joined the army not for Queen and Country. I joined ultimately to put food on the table for my little sister. That was the bottom line. The quickest way to do that was to join the army. I then got told that if I joined the parachute regiment, I get an extra couple £100 a month. So again, it was the quickest way to make money and the most money I could at the possible times. At 16, I just turned 17 at the time, a few days in. Went and joined the Paras. I had no idea what I was getting myself in for. Turns out it was pretty hard. There was 9 out of 65 who made it. And ultimately, I put it down to the fact that my why was stronger than a lot of people. So although I was physically, psychologically worse off than most grown men, double my age, ultimately, if I didn't pass or I didn't win, my little sister didn't get fed. And that was my why. And you're never going to beat me at that. So yeah, I stayed the course and progressed through my army career, and again through mishap and misfortune just so happened to end up on the PTI course, which to get on the PTI course in the parachute regiment is pretty hard because everybody's fit, so to be the fittest of the fittest is quite difficult. And yeah, and then I ended up being in the Royal Army Physical Training course. I transitioned into that into around about 2017 and just fell in love with coaching, mate. I just literally loved understanding people's bodies and how to manipulate it. And then subsequently won a few awards off the back of that. I started redesigning programs and testing protocols within the military. I was on the Queen's Birthdays Honours list for what quoted revolutionising the way the military trained today. And ultimately, then I had a little girl and thought, I need to go home now. I need to, I want to go home. When I was in the Paras, I was spending 3 weeks out of the 4 away. So I was constantly when I thought, I can't do that anymore. My little girl changed everything really. So I left, jumped into coaching and thought I can do this full time. And then things transpired pretty quickly, from UFC athletes to Elite 15 High Rocks athletes to I became a best-selling author. I opened the testing facility. I ran most random thing in the world. I sell socks, which is crazy. But it works. And yeah, it's the fastest growing sock company in the country. And things have just gone a bit mental. Social media blew up a few years back. And yeah, I've just sort of held on to anything and just been, the first to react to anything that's thrown amongst me and just made the best I can out of the shitty situation and just try to grow as much as I possibly can, mate.
Yeah, no, and I think it's such a powerful message because, you know, to tap into what you said at the start, you know, you were in a position where it was, you know, it's sink or swim, it's do or die. And the situation, like you said, was for you was, it was all or nothing. And I think the all or nothing mindset, the all or nothing approach can be quite detrimental in certain scenarios for certain people. But when it's harnessed in the right way, it's the most powerful driver to achieve success. And just, you know, again, hearing you talk, you can hear the passion that comes through. And I think we fall into traps when we're you know, when things aren't going to plan, where it either becomes our motivation and we channel it positively in the same way that you did. It became your reason for why you were doing things, and you weren't ever going to allow yourself to, you know, to fail or come up short because for that specific reason. I think there's that. I think that's a really important point to emphasize, because a lot of people, when shit happens to them, they almost allow it to define them, and it becomes their limiting factor. And they go, "Oh, I wish I could do X, Y, Z, but this is my story. This is what's happened to me." Whereas you took a very different approach to that. You could easily have looked at your situation and gone, "It's hopeless. What can I possibly do? There's nothing to be done," and just kind of wallowed in that almost that sort of feeling of self-pity and allowed it to define you. But instead you looked at it and went, "You know what, this isn't going to stop me, this isn't going to break me," and used it as that fuel, that fire to achieve what you have. And I'm guessing at the point when you were sort of 16, 17, joining the army and just looking for whichever avenue of the army was going to pay you the most, I'm guessing it was never even on your radar that you'd be in the position that you're in now, fast forward a few years.
No, of course not. And I literally had this conversation the other day about thinking small. And a lot of people always say, "Oh, don't think small, think big." And all the way through my career, I think I've thought small. It's just been to get to the next stage, to get to the next step. It's never been about, "Oh, I wanted to join the paras and then I wanted to be a commander within whatever." Thanks, Ash. Cheers. You not get yourself one, mate. Cheers, mate. Ash has been delivered by the best clinical lead in the country, mate. So, oh, it's nice. What time is it? Decent. Yeah, that's all right.
It's early in the day. It's 10:17.
I'm in. I'm all in. So yeah, it's always I've literally thought small throughout everything, mate. I literally, joining the army, it was just like get money on the table. No idea about the paras. I didn't do any research. I hardly even trained. I just literally turned up and was just like, I need to get money. And then so many times I thought, this is too much for me, I need to get out. But someone put, I think my first wage was like 800 and something pounds. And I'd never seen that type of money before. You know, I'd come from a broken home. We had nothing growing up. And it was like, and I was like, shit, I can do another 4 weeks of that. So and that was it.
Yeah.
Get to the next 4 weeks, get another paycheck, send it home. People got fed, people was happy. And it was like, okay, right, I'll go again. And before I knew it, I passed. So I thought small the whole way. And it was only, I had this conversation the other day about, right, what's next at Red On? And now Red On is now a group of, you know, there's clothing companies, a tech company, there's a coaching company, an investment company. And we've grown so big in such a short space of time. We're looking at the next step and the next stage, which I can't go into too much detail about it, but now we're thinking big. Now we're thinking huge, but within that, there's these small steps where, again, I am thinking small. And I think that's okay to do it. And people try to think that you can never think small, always think big, but they miss the finer details when they do that.
Yeah, and I completely agree. And I think that yes, thinking big is great because it's more attractive, it's more appealing, it's more exciting. But the journey to achieving any big goal, whether it's a fat loss goal, whether it's a business goal, whatever it is, the journey to achieve that big goal will take a fucking long time. There's no two ways about it. And I have this conversation with clients all the time where they're like, "Oh, I want to lose 20 kilos, 30 kilos." And you go, "That's fucking amazing. Keep that in the back of your mind. But for the time being, your goal is to lose one." And like, why? Well, because if you can only celebrate your win when you get to 30 kilos, that could be 18 months down the line and you might not make it because you've only lost, 10 kilos and you're feeling frustrated. Whereas if your goal is to just lose the next one, guess what? Every few weeks you're going to celebrate. And I think the power of, like you said, thinking small is not about limiting yourself. It's not about being pessimistic. It's about actually setting yourself up for continued success and giving yourself markers that you can actually hit. I think the human mind is a really powerful thing, and if you know how to harness it to your own advantage, there's nothing that you can't achieve. And I say to people all the time, the biggest reason why people quit is they think they're doing worse than they are. So if you can trick your mind into thinking you're doing better, you're more likely to stay the course. And I think that kind of ties into what you were saying in terms of thinking small is not about being unambitious. It's actually about tricking the mind into regular success by setting the goal at something that you can achieve, and then when you achieve it, you go, "That was quite good. I'll do it again." And before you know it, it compounds and it adds up.
Yeah, and it's interesting you use that term, stay the course. So fast forward a few years when I went back as an instructor to parachute regiment training, and then beyond it, I used the three-pronged approach I ended up tripling the pass rate. So when I went through, there was 9 out of 65 that made it. And fast forward a few years, I then became the instructor that instructed the guys. And ultimately, I thought it must be a better way to do this. There must be some more science we can throw in. I went and got myself on a degree and stuff, which is a whole other story. But I didn't tell uni I was in the army. I didn't tell the army I was in uni, and ended up going down a degree route. And that was hard. But ultimately, with all the science, the research, the academic backing now and the practical application I had, I thought there must be a better way. We ended up tripling the pass rate. And I took this three-pronged approach, and it was stay the course, pass the course, win the course. You can't think about winning until you've passed.
Yep.
You can't think about passing until you stay. And the stay was all about survivability. No one's going to care how fit you are or how good you are that you can win it if you can't stay on the course. If you get injured, the most likelihood of you coming off is through injury. So the first thing we're going to do is build a foundation of strength to ensure you never get injured. I don't care how fit you are right now, but I'm going to ensure that your body never breaks down so we can stay the course. You may not be good enough. They may say to you, it's not for you, you need to join another unit or whatever it is. But at this moment in time, your body's not going to break down. You need to be able to stay the course. And once we've built that foundation, only then can we now look at what it takes to pass. And once we have that nailed on, now what can we do to go and win? And I listened to a psychologist the other day. He broke it down into 3 ways. He was on about there's some people who like to compete and they're really strong and really good. And it's good. They go, and there's some people who like to win. And there's very few people who like to dominate. Now I added another layer to this, and I think about completing, then competing, then winning, and then dominating. These are all different people. Now, when you wanted to go and be successful in anything, you've got to consider where you sit in that. And so whenever someone comes and applies to me now for coaching, it's like I always say to them, I want to go and do a high rocks. I want to go and do a marathon or whatever it is. And I'm like, okay, do you want to complete it or do you want to compete in it? And then I'm only thinking about competing right now. So there are only 2 right now. And if they say compete, all right, that's cool. Let's start building that. Stay the course, pass the course, win the course. Let's start building through that. And at what stage are we going to start wanting to dominate this? Because there's another level we can go to always. If they say, I just want to complete it, that's fine. There's a whole other conversation. Let's just build that foundation to complete the aim. Once you have that completion in mind, can we now look at competing? Let's go to another level. There's always I call it so what in my book. It's that next level. You're never going to be satisfied in a performance-based goal. It's never going to be enough. That's why we don't deal with anyone to do with aesthetics, bodybuilding and stuff. I just don't deal with it. I don't deal with weight loss. I don't deal with because you're never going to be satisfied. 5 kg you lose or what you look at in the mirror, it's never going to be good enough. And I can't be involved in that. I'm just not into that style of life. And I'm no good at it. I'm good at performance setting. Aesthetics and bodybuilding is a whole different ball game. There's some incredible coaches out there who specialize in that. That's not what I specialize in, because I just feel that the person on the other end is never going to be satisfied with how they look or, when you go down aesthetics. That's why I do performance-based goals. You either win or you lose. You complete it or you don't. There has to be that line, and that's why we go down that way.
And I think it's really important to have that distinction because, again, obviously, whether you view it as rightly or wrongly, the competitive physique space, bodybuilding space, is considered a sport, a competition, and people do 100% compete to win and to dominate, and that's absolutely fine. But it is a subjective sport at the end of the day. You could theoretically be the person with the greatest muscle mass who is the leanest person, but the judges on the day could just prefer how somebody else looks. Simple as that. And it's a very subjective thing. Whereas, like you said, true competition from a sporting perspective, it's not subjective. It is win or lose. It's very tangible elements that determine success. And there's very tangible elements that determine progress within that success. It's, are you quicker? Are you stronger? Are you fitter?
Yeah.
You know, and again, obviously, excuse me, I'm not somebody who's competed in high rocks, but again, there's multiple disciplines, and each time you can gauge how much you've progressed from the last time you did it. It's a very linear, straightforward process, and I think I think it's really important that you highlight that distinction between the two, because I'm not somebody that's convinced that we can consider bodybuilding to be a sport. I've done physique competition, well, prep for physique competition. I didn't get to the stage because of lockdown, and the damage that it's done to me in terms of things like my own body image, the damage that it did to my relationship with food, and you're forever chasing not specific markers, you're forever chasing feedback from people. It's an ego sort of boosting process. You're forever seeking somebody else to say, yes, you look good. And that's, you know, for someone that has done competitive sport pretty much my entire life, where it's winning and losing, you can't end up in a situation where winning or losing is down to somebody's opinion. That's not, in my opinion, that's not how true competition works. And fair play to everyone that competes. It requires a lot of discipline, a lot of commitment, and it's not me having a slight on people that do it, because I appreciate how much hard work goes into it. You don't compete by mistake. But even when people say, "Oh, I compete," well, you don't. You prepare yourself to look as best as possible in the hope that somebody else agrees that you look good. And that's, to me, that isn't competition. That's because competition should be fair. There should be clear set markers where it doesn't matter your ability level. There is a one set way of measuring. Did you win or did you lose from that perspective? So yeah, I think it's so important that you raise that point, because it's such an important point from a fitness perspective, because again, people look at fitness and they will hail physique models as the pinnacle of health and fitness because they look really lean. But from if we're looking at from a performance perspective, you put the majority of bodybuilders into something like a high rocks competition, for example, and there's a fair portion of them that will struggle like fuck, because actually their fitness level isn't actually that high. They just carry a good amount of muscle mass and they're quite lean.
Yeah, and I think if we and the same could be, I put them on opposite ends of the spectrum. If I entered their world, mate, I get spat out. I would never be able to do that. I'd never be able to hold the pose for that long, or be able to even showcase any amount of muscle like that they do. And there's a saying that I've heard before in regards to, it's those who look good don't often perform well, but people who perform well often look good. So although we don't strive for aesthetically pleasing bodies, it normally comes with performance, but it's not something that we ever look at here at Red On from like an aesthetic point of view. I never do what's it called, check-ins with pictures and do anything like that. I'm not asked how you look, or it's as long as you can perform well. In a performance-based goal, concentrate on performance metrics, not being aesthetically pleasing. We've had some people in this testing facility who look like a bag of spuds, mate, but they'll outperform every single person that I've ever had come in here on the goal that they want to go down. It's like, that's fine, don't worry about it. You keep going, you keep doing you.
You see it in every walk of life. I used to play a lot of football, and you'd always get it. You'd come up against the team. We had a lad that played for us. You'd look at him, and he looked about 40, 49. He claimed he was in his 30s. He looked about 49. Short lad, didn't look like he was in great shape. Literally the most incredible engine I've ever seen on anybody. Like, the guy did not stop ever. Could literally outperform everybody. And you'd look at him, you'd go, he's going to be shit. He's gonna, his legs are gonna go after 10 minutes. Like, he's gonna be absolute dog shit. But exceptional engine on the guy, and you just look at it. And go, this is the beauty of it in terms of when your goal is performance based, it doesn't matter what the aesthetics are. And I think it's really awesome in terms of what you do, in terms of the way that you coach, is it's not about entering into what I consider is a bit of a dick swinging contest between coaches, where it's like, look how lean I can get this person. Because 9 times out of 10, the look how lean I get this person is at the expense of that individual. You make their life temporarily fucking miserable so they look great in a photo. Whereas your approach is the complete opposite. It's not about making people's lives miserable to look great in a photo. It's about actually helping them to strive to better themselves by that 1% each time they try their hand or whatever the discipline is that they're trying to improve on. And again, referring back to IFS, I don't know if you sat through Ben and Sohi's talk. Obviously, one of the things they spoke about was focusing on health-centric behaviors. And again, referring back to what you said, when you focus on more health-centric behaviors, more performance-centric behaviors, the byproduct is you typically end up improving how you look aesthetically. You end up building a bit more muscle, carrying a little less body fat. But because that's not your primary focus, you actually still you end up focusing on the elements that are important to optimum performance, and that's just a happy byproduct. So again, the majority of people you work with probably look fucking great, but they've achieved that not by seeking out looking fucking great. It's by improving their performance and how they're doing, and trying to get them better at their discipline. And that's just a happy byproduct of it. It's that swimmer's body illusion, isn't it? In terms of people always look at people that do a particular sport and go, oh, if I do that same sport, I'll look like them. It's like, no, they're really good at what they do because of the way they look. They don't look the way they do because they do the sport. They're good at the sport because of how they're built, kind of thing. And it's a similar perspective from your side of things. People who come through working with you don't look good because they work with you. It's they perform good because they work with you, and as a result of that, they end up looking better.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think there is a ceiling in that health spectrum as well, though. So often performance isn't healthy. And even going back to the aesthetic stuff, the bodybuilding stuff. So I see the aesthetics there on one end of the spectrum, the performance-based goals on the other end of the spectrum. There's a healthy part in the middle, but as you overreach into one of those, sometimes it can get unhealthy, and that's the nature of it. And it's, that's the way performance is. Or, it's some of the things that we ask our athletes to do at that elite end of the spectrum is like, it's mental when you think, and it's they put their bodies on the line week in, week out into competition, and it's tough on the body. And but that's the difference between wanting to dominate the sport or wanting to complete it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I had a really good episode which will be coming out in a few weeks' time with Izzy Songhurst, who's a Team GB. She went to the Olympics in Paris, trampolinist, and we were having the same conversation in terms of that healthy mark sits right in the middle, as you quite rightly said. And then if you move either end of the spectrum, it by nature of what you're trying to achieve, it has to become unhealthy. You look at anyone that's at the top of their game. You look at somebody like Cristiano Ronaldo. I guarantee if you broke down his behavior patterns that he goes through from his training and his nutrition, if you applied that same approach to general population person that just wants to look and feel a bit better, you're probably doing more harm than good. But the reason why he does it is not because he's buying into adopting potentially an element of disordered eating, overtraining, and a fascination with how he looks. It's because he knows that anything that can extract that extra fraction of a percentage is the difference between, as you said, competing and winning, or winning and dominating. And when you want to be at the absolute top and you want longevity at the top, you have to make sacrifices. There are things that you have to accept, that if I want to achieve this, I've got no option. And I have this conversation with clients all the time. If they come to me and they say they've got a very specific aesthetic goal or a very specific performance goal, I will say to them, the result of this is that you will have to train and eat in a particular way to elicit that response, whether or not you like it. If you come to me and you just want to look better and feel better, the foundation of what we're going to do is going to be based around your enjoyment. But if you come to me with a specific aesthetic or performance goal, you will have to do whatever it takes to achieve that. And I think it's an important distinction to make, because a lot of people view competitive athletes of any discipline as, they elevate them, they put them on a pinnacle, and they go, oh, I really want to be like them, I'm going to live like them. but because they're not actually competing themselves, they're just making their lives unnecessarily difficult and potentially miserable because they think they have to. And I think it's a really important thing, point to highlight the fact that we don't necessarily need to encourage everybody live and breathe like an athlete, but if you want to perform and be successful like an athlete, and you've got things that you want to not just hold your own in, but actually be incredibly competitive with, then you are going to have to do more than the average person to achieve that.
Yeah, and I think that term athlete, everyone I work with, I make this publicly known as well. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if your aim is to just get up off the couch and walk to the shop pain-free. I consider absolutely everybody from the world's best Olympians all the way down to normal everyday people to be an athlete. And the people scoff at that and say, well, they're not an athlete. And I say they are, because they're competing against something. And whether that's perpetual growth or they're competing against the old version of themselves, they're still competing. And that's what an athlete is. The difference between everyday people and those who want to dominate, going back to that analogy we used earlier, is they don't see it as sacrifice. They don't see the early mornings or the extra volume or the nutrition plan that gets put in front of them. And, they don't see that as sacrifice. They just see it as a stepping stone to getting to what exactly they have to have.
It's that necessary step, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's just like, it's just another day. It's just like, okay, yeah, sounds. Is that going to give me 1%? I'm in, come in and get tested. We have a testing protocol here. It's outrageously hard. It's like humbling, but the data we get off the back of it is incredible. It's like a cheat code. It's like, literally, it's like doping. It is, the numbers we give you are the blood doesn't lie. The gas exchange that we provide when we do the VO2 doesn't lie. So we do lactic tests, we do VO2 max, we do strength analysis, power analysis, biomechanical analysis. You walk out of here with like a 30-page document on everything you need to know about your body. To get that, for a lot of people, it's sacrifice. They have to come in and they have to get absolutely humbled and destroyed and go to the absolute pinnacle of their physical capabilities to do it. Where we have a few people who's not sacrificed and they want to be in here every 4 weeks. They want to go and do it constantly. They would come in here every day if that was to make them better. But obviously, we need to utilize the data to program and adapt. So we try to keep them away. But ultimately, it's like they don't see it as anything other than just give me the numbers so I can go and adapt. I need to be able to get better. And these people are number one in the world. And that's not enough. It's not enough because they're being hunted and they're like, I need to be better. The trajectory of everyone in the field go and get this. I need to stay above the trajectory. Here's what I need to do. And we make the plan, and they don't see this as sacrifice. So a lot of people go, oh, do you know what? Sounds pretty hard to me, that. I'm like, well, that's the difference. Like, it's, if you want it, we can give you the numbers to go and grow, but you've got to get humbled. You've got to figure out who you are right now as an athlete, as in your current ability. And it's tough, but the very, very best in the world aren't asked about it being tough. They just want the numbers. And if that's what they need to do to get it, then lay it all down and I'm all in. So, and that's the difference you see between the very, very best and those who are just want to get a little bit better.
Yeah. And again, it's fascinating, getting this insight, because again, it's not the stuff that you see all the time. Everybody again sees people who are very successful, and it's that iceberg analogy that you always see, where it's like people only see the tip of the iceberg and they go, oh, look how fortunate they are, they're blessed with great genetics or whatever it is. But actually it's not. It's an entire process of dedication. It's not, like you said, it's not sacrifice, because when you absolutely embrace it and it's what you want to do, like you'll be willing to do whatever you want. These are why that's exactly why these people are in the top 1%. It's why they are number one in the world at whatever it is that they're doing, is because they're, like you said, they don't view it as a sacrifice. They view it as a dedication, as part of the process. In exactly the same way that somebody that works an office job, you have a list of tasks that you need to do each day because it's your job, it's what you're paid to do. Effectively, you go in, you do it. Some people do it to the best of their abilities. Some people do it just enough to still get paid. But you go in and you tick the box, and that's exactly how the elite athletes view things. Is it's that, to them, it's their box ticking. It's the non-negotiables. It's the stuff they need to do in order to elicit the response that they want. The difference in mindset for me personally, in terms of how I view it, between those that reach the top and stay successful versus those that perhaps have elements of success, is is the desire to not become complacent. I think there's, with regards to successful people, there's two kind of categories. There's those who achieve success and they're kind of happy with it, and then they
Yeah.
fizzle out as quick as they've kind of come. And then there's those that have sustained success. And you look at anyone who's achieved longevity at the top of their sport, it's because they don't win and go, brilliant, job done.
Yeah.
They win and they go, right, what could I do better? How do I improve on that? And it's that constant striving to better themselves that drives them on to continue to compete and to continue to want to win, and not just want to win, but do it better than the last time. And again,
Yeah.
I think all of these things make up the subtle differences in mindset as to why some people are elite athletes and others are, perhaps still competitive, but sit in the middle of the pack. And then there are the people that don't start at all. And it's those subtle mindset shifts. Some people see the challenge and embrace it and go, perfect. It's not challenges, it's not sacrifices, it's a list of things to do to be successful. Other people see it and go, oh, I'll do it and see how I get on. And then some people look at it and go, it's too much for me.
Yeah. No, I get it. And most people don't go for the win because they're too fearful to lose. And you see that across the board. And I always put it to my athletes that it's only ever okay to lose if you go all in to win. If you come dead last, but you went to win, we can live with that, and it's, I'm happy with that. And, the famous thing, and the High Rocks is quite big on what we do at the moment. So a lot of people are chasing what they call a sub 60. They want to get under 60 minutes on their own. And I'm like, that's cool. We go for it. That's okay. So we train really hard. We compete. We churn out competition. And when they go for it, I'm like, if you don't get this, you either get a sub 60 or you get a 1 hour 20. There's no in between here. You go for it. And if you get spat out and you come dead last and you get a really, really shit time, that's fine if you go all in. You've gone all in. You've left everything on the table. You held your timings and your pacing up until a certain stage where you just went, bang, I'm done. I'm done. But you go all in to go for this because we trained for it. We know we can do it. And that's fine. It's okay. So we go all in. It's like you either get there or you come dead last. Like, is that you go all in when there's nothing left of your body. And that's straight away, they're like, okay, I'm in now. I've got to go for it. And what if you just, piss around and flirt around the idea behind it, you're never going to make it. So go all in. Fuck it. What's the worst that can happen? And I seen this in the World Champions last year where I know someone who dropped out of the Elite 15 because they was the 15th best. And in my head, I could not get my head around it. I was like, you're 15th worst of the very 15 best in the world. And you're more worried about what people see. And do you know what they did? They dropped out and went and won the other one. So like there's another championship that you can, it's like the Women's Open it was. And it proper wound me up. And I thought they wanted to be the best of the over 50 of the 15 of competing over here. So you came 16th in the end. But to everyone else, it looks like you've done really well. But I know you dropped out of that because you didn't want to come last on the top 15 where everyone's watching. I was like, so what? Go in to win. Go and hold on to first place and see what happens. Become 15. You're 15th best in the world. Go all in. And I could not get my head around it. And I had this conversation with loads of people around it. I was like, what is happening in this world? Like, fuck it. Go for it. Just see what happens. Like,
it's a false win though as well in that respect. If you're recognizing that you're gonna not dominate in one class, so you deliberately drop down to the next one just so you can win, you're kind of kidding yourself, because if winning the next class is absolutely guaranteed, you're probably not competing in the right group. Like, you should never, in my opinion,
you turn that into business. You turn that into business, and there's a famous saying in it: if you're the best guy in the room, then you're in the wrong room.
Yeah,
like move.
That's exactly the phrase
not
that I was going to use.
Tree. Move, like, and and there's the same can be said from a performance setting. We want you to compete with the very best, and I get people to move gyms and all sorts to go and compete, go and to surround yourself with the best people. We have like a race team for High Rocks now, where I put people in, and they just get humbled by people because they're the best in their category, and all of a sudden they get put into this group, and they're like some serious players in it, and you've got to go with it. You have to up your game to go with it, and that's the type of feeling we want people to have, that you've got to go all in. And you know, and I'm okay with you losing as long as you go all into winning. But you know, it's every now and then you got to get humbled. I've been humbled so many times, mate. I've been spat out of the pack and lost so many races. I've come up short in so many times, and I've given so many shitty excuses. When the bottom line is, I just wasn't good enough, which is fine in a performance setting if you try your hardest to be good enough, and I'm okay with
Yeah.
that. But if you go there and fart about and you just piss around and you you skirt around the idea of winning and you think it's okay to come middle of the pack. One of the things that winds me up in this generation is it's okay to not be good. It's people think it's almost a badge of honor to be shit at something. And I'm like, that's not okay. That's not the world that we live in. Like, especially at Red On, it's like, no, we go to dominate stuff. We're all in to win. And that's the way that we
Yeah.
work here. If you don't want that, you're never going to get on with us. We don't accept you into into our world.
Yeah.
You want to
And
come and work with us, you better be willing to go all in with us, because I will run through walls to ensure that you're going to achieve your aim. If you don't match that, we ain't going to get on.
Yeah, 100%. I think on that point, I think it's important because I completely agree. We don't have to be the best at everything. It's not to suggest that anything you try your hand at, you have to be the fucking best at it. But if you're going to commit to something, give your fucking best. Like there's no point in it is the classic phrase, do or do not, there is no try. But you should throw yourself into, if you want to do something, throw yourself into it and give 100%, because even if you don't win in that moment, you learn something else that you can then improve on to get you closer to winning the next time. And I think you look at anyone that's ever been successful, everyone again will always look at how many titles, trophies, competitions they've won. But the people that have won the most have probably lost the most as well. The difference is they didn't stop when they lost. And that's the thing. We all do it. We all kid ourselves. We all fall into this false sort of dichotomy of thinking that we have to be amazing the first time we try anything. And it's like, no, the first time you do anything, it's going to be shit. The key is to recognize that that's just your level now, and that you can improve on it, and to commit yourself to it. And I'm guilty of this all the time. I used to play guitar when I was in my teens. I've got 3 guitars hung up out here in the bar, and every 6 or 8 months I pick one up and I go, I'm going to play guitar for a bit, and I go, oh, I'm not as good as I used to be, and I get bored and I put it down. The reality is that if I didn't wait another 6 or 8 months before I picked it up again, and I picked up each day, you'd improve. You can't do something with minimum effort and expect maximum results. And I think this is why I completely agree with what you're saying. Is society at the moment seems to think that, and maybe social media plays a part, because you get these genuine overnight successes. People put up a video and suddenly it blows up and they think that they're the next big thing in the world, and it's become sort of easier than ever to achieve elements of success. So people think that you can just doss around and stuff will get handed to you, but like it just doesn't work that way. Like you still there's still an absolute fundamental to any goal that you want to achieve in life, that it has to be hard work. Like no one who's ever achieved lasting success has done it without hard work. The difference is that, again, because of social media being a highlight reel, people don't appreciate the hard work that goes into certain things, so therefore they expect to be able to click their fingers and get what they want. And I'm with you. It really fucking like frustrates me and pisses me off when you hear people talking. They're like, "Oh, what do you want to do with your life?" "Oh, I'm going to do this," and you go, "Well, how are you going to get there?" "Oh, it'll just happen." Well, it's not just going to happen, though, is it? Nothing in life actually just happens. You have to take action, and you have to be accountable, and you have to actually monitor yourself and give yourself feedback and recognize what's going well, what's not going well. Because if you're just winging it with a half-assed approach, like even if you get a little bit of momentary success by pure dumb luck, it's not going to stick around. And there's too many people that are hoping and waiting for good things to just happen, when in reality the only way to actually guarantee that good things will happen is to go and fucking earn it.
100%.
And I think your story is a perfect example of it. Again, if we go right back to the start, you had a problem that you needed to fix. You needed to put food on the table. You needed money, and you looked at the low hanging fruit. What can I do that's going to immediately satisfy that? You did it. You went, this is quite cool. She's got 800 quid. I'll do it again. And then you started to look at, well, what can I do that would make it a bit better? And then it was moving into the paras. And then it's like, well, what can I do to make it a bit better? And you fast forward now and you're in a position where you've got multiple businesses, best-selling book, best-selling author, all of these amazing achievements. You've won awards for your coaching, the Queen's Honours List, and all of these things have been achieved because you didn't get that little bit of perhaps luck at the start and go, oh, this is great, and just try and dine out on it. You went, this is cool. How can I make it better? And again, people could look at you and go, oh, overnight success. Your coaching business has exploded over the last few years. Like, how lucky? But it's not luck. It's continuous, daily hard work, relentless pushing. The difference is that you embrace the journey, so it doesn't feel like, or probably doesn't always. Some days it will definitely feel like it, but it doesn't always feel like it's relentless hard work. That it's constantly striving to do better because you enjoy it, and when you enjoy stuff, it feels much easier. But because you enjoy it and it feels easier doesn't mean that you go any easier on yourself with it, that you try any less. You actually try more.
Yeah, no, I agree, and it's I would like to think I've never been handed anything. I've earned everything that I've gone along. As I've gone along, I'd just like to think that I've learned the quickest and reacted the best than most people, and I'm still not satisfied. And I think that's the way I'm built. It's the way it's ingrained in me. I'll never settle on anything, and we're doing okay, and ultimately I'm just in a position where okay is never enough. And, we want to constantly strive to do more and be better. And I try to push that to my athletes. I try to push that to my kids, everything. And, I've trying to explain to my little girl she's only 5, but she's really into like health and fitness. And she just wants to be like daddy. And she comes into the gym and I'm like, okay, that's cool. But you want to do that, sweetheart, you've got to be able to do this, and this. You want to be able to run far and fast. You've got to run all the time. She's like, okay. I said, you want to be a good gymnast? We got to go and train. Like, we got to go and put those hours in. She's like, okay, let's do it. And, and I'm trying to teach her from a young age that we don't get handed anything. And I'd like to be in a position when we're older that I can give my little girl and my little boy more than obviously what I got. It wasn't much, but ultimately I still want them to earn their way in life. And, and my wife's the same, to be fair. My wife's come from a much different background where, she's been looked after. She's got, her mum and dad are doing okay, but her dad has made her earn everything the whole way, and not necessarily that she had to, but he's made sure that she knows that she has to do that. Yeah, and I think that's hopefully what we can pass on to our kids, and pass on to the people around me, and even to the people that work for me now. Across the Realm Group now, there's like 80 something staff, and each one of them brings their own little expertise. And I want to make sure that all of them know that nothing's granted, nothing's given or gifted. We earn everything. We go to work, we work really hard, we play really hard as well. We have so much fun with what we do. And we do have an incredible job, an incredible life. I've just took every member of staff and all their families from the coaching side of the business. And some of the race teams, like 30 of us out in Malaga over the weekend, all the kids and stuff so we do play hard, but ultimately we've earned that. We've worked so hard to get that. And that's like and I want to ingrain that absolutely everybody that's ever surrounded by me, that nothing's gifted in this world. You go out and you go and get it and you earn it. And if we can keep doing that, we'll be all right.
Yeah, and I love that, and I think it's such a good message because again, I always laugh when I think back to the interview, and it was an interview with Shaquille O'Neal, and I think they were, I can't remember how it came about, but they were asking him about like his kids and stuff, and like, are you gonna pass down like your wealth to them and stuff, and he's like, look, they're young kids at the moment, so anything they want they get because we can afford it. But when they're 18, they need to appreciate that they're not rich. I'm rich. It's like if they want wealth, if they want success, they've got to go and get it. I'm not. It's like if they want to go into business, I'll help them. I'll support them. I'll help them to be successful. But they've got to go and make their own money. It's like they're not getting mine.
Yeah.
It's like I'm the one that's rich, not them. And I think whilst it is very humorously put, I think it's so important because there's a lot of people who seem incredibly entitled in society at the moment, where they just think that good things should happen to them and they should have everything that they want without the work, just because. And I think the ethos of rolling your sleeves up and getting your hands dirty and actually doing the work is kind of lost. And again, referring back to people who get it. I've watched so many I'm a big Man United fan. I watched so many documentaries about Sir Alex Ferguson, and one of the overwhelming things that always gets spoken about by former players is when he would do team talks, it wasn't tactical, it wasn't about what they were going to do. He would talk about their families and their backgrounds and the fact that he came from a working class family where they were all in the shipyard building ships for generations, and how and he would go through each individual player and he would pinpoint the history of their family and where they have come to get to where they are, and it was purely to remind them that you don't get anywhere without the hard work. And yes, they might be very fortunate, they might be on great money, and they might be about to go and play a Champions League final or whatever it is, but the reason why they are there is because of the hard work that's gone in, and it's that constant reminder to not become complacent, to not rest on your laurels and to think it's fine, I've made it, I don't need to try anymore. It's that constant reminder that there are people who have worked and worked and worked their entire life to be able to afford that situation. And like you said, same for for you and your kids. You've worked your entire life, you've given absolutely everything you can to be fortunate and be in the position that you're in, that you can then give them the life that they've got that you didn't have growing up. But just because you can do that doesn't mean that you're gonna pay their way for the rest of their lives. It's not about you working your ass off to kind of give the next generation a free ride. It's to set the example that we've got this and you can make the most of it for now, but when the time comes, you're not passing on just the financial standing. It's you're passing on the habits, the behaviors, the mindsets, the routines and the ethos for them to replicate and improve your success.
Yeah.
And I think it's so
Hope
important.
So. Right, mate. Try that's the art of being a dad, mate. I'm going to try my hardest.
Absolutely, and you can hear it in the way that you talk. And again, it's evident in terms of how your business is structured, how you work with your clients, and what you're focusing on is the fact that the fundamental element is to work hard and do your best. And it's again, referring back to the point that you raised, I think that is a commodity that is in short supply in society at the moment, is that just that do your best, give everything. I say it to my clients all the fucking time, every single week. If they've not had a good week, I'm like, did you do everything that you could within your power? Can you hand on heart say that you couldn't have done any more this week? Because if the answer to that question is yes, then you've done fine. Even if it wasn't the standard that you normally set, even if you weren't as active, even if you didn't eat as well, if you can hand on heart say that you couldn't have done any more this week, you've succeeded. The weeks where you've got 40% to give, if you give 40%, you've given 100%. And I think it's a really important thing important message to get out there, because like we said, too many people think that success comes easily these days, because it's everywhere you look there's somebody that's successful, and nobody seems to talk about the hard graft that goes into it. And actually, to be fair, going back to IFS, I found that there were quite a few talks that were given that were incredibly insightful, but there was quite a focus this year on people stating how much their monthly or annual revenue was for their business, which is it's quite inspiring. It's good to see that people are making really good money in the industry that we're in, but at the same time, you kind of sit there and you go, well, talk us through how you got there. I think your talk was one of the only talks where you actually went into the reasons of how you achieved it, and the bit that really stuck with me was all about focusing on that why. And I think that's what I'd like to get into next is actually I think that's such an important and powerful piece that people overlook. Everybody looks at their what can come from being successful, but for every single person there's actually an underlying reason that's about moving them away from where they are, that's the driver. And I think sometimes we get a bit I'll be happy when I look like this, I'll be happy when I can do this, and that's all well and good, but why? And I'd love for you just to kind of go into a bit of detail on that, because it's like I said, it was probably my favorite talk from IFS, and I came away from it, I was like, fuck, I need to reverse engineer how I do consultation calls, and I need to dig way more into why people are doing things rather than just what they want to achieve.
No, I appreciate that, mate. And I think I can't remember what the line I used, but I think no one really knows this, by the way. But I write my IF, so I've been the keynote speaker at IFS for a few years now, and um, I actually write my presentation the night before I do it. And the reason why I always ask to go on one of the last as well, whenever they ask me to. And the reason I do it is because I see what everyone else is doing and I try and bring everything in line. So when you would have noticed in my talk, I've done loads since, so I can't remember too much details of it, but it's like I talk about everyone else's presentation and try to bring that in about what we've learned and how we're going to take that to move forward. I like to do that. It's almost like I almost do it like a summative thing that people can take away, because that's one of the things that I always want to get out of those types is, and I explain this all the time as well. You know, there's being an online coach is really, really good, but there's a person at the other end of that. Can we actually help them? IFS is the same. Everyone's paid the money to go and be there. Can we actually help them? Like, as you mentioned, some people were just talking about their monthly recurring revenue, and it's like, well done, great. What does that mean? Like, so I always try to do my talk to make sure that I can give as much value as I possibly can to the person. Because that's ultimately what it's about. It's about trying to help people. And I think if we go about our business trying to help people, then we're doing okay. That's what we do as coaches. So I think that particular presentation, I talked about, I think it was the golden circle theory. And I think the part you're discussing there was most people know what they do. Some people know how they do it, but the very best know why. And that's the direction I took the presentation. And I take that from my own coaching philosophy. I take it from the research I've done on the golden circle stuff. So you should look that up if you're listening to this. It's pretty cool. And yeah, and it's the fun. And I think it was taken from Steve Jobs at Apple. I think he did it. He did it in a speech. I think I may be wrong on that. Maybe someone else from someone definitely from the tech world. But it comes down to people understanding their why is like the single most powerful factor of being successful. And when you know why you do something, the other shit comes naturally anyway. So whenever I get on a coaching call with someone or a screening call is what we call it, you know, and people apply to us, I don't do any marketing. Zero. I've got no. So at Red On, we do okay, but we have zero marketing budget. Our marketing budget is going out and winning competitions. And one of the worst marketing strategies we have is the fact that we work with a lot of special forces guys and we can't talk about it. We call it the secret athlete code of conduct. And it's such a shit marketing strategy, but it's so powerful for winning. It's the fact that most of our success has to remain silent. And there's power within that, especially from an athlete point of view. And people like that that they've got confidentiality when they work with us. And we work with some pretty cool people across the elite sporting spectrum and celebrities and stuff. And ultimately, and some of the people that walk through these doors here at the Performance Center are like outrageous, and we just stay silent with it. Some people want the exposure, but ultimately, everybody who applies to us in that screening call is, you know, I ask them why they want to go and achieve something. And everyone always starts with the case of, you know, I want to go and be this by this time. Great. Why? And when you drop that onto someone, they're like, and most people who want it, they seriously want it, and they've thought about it, and they've gone through every angle, and they've tried everything. They've come to us because they failed previously, which it's you know, most people do. And you know, but when they go and start nailing why they want to do it, and it's something strong and it's something powerful and it's something within, I'm like, oh shit, okay, I can get on board with that. You know, mine was my little sister. You ain't beating me at Parage Depot within that. I know. And when it comes to someone, you know, I want to go and achieve this. Here's why I want to go and do it. I'm like, all right, I'm in. That's powerful. It's good. I love it. I'm in. Let's do it. And when someone nails that why and you have a real strong, deep desire, they will do anything to win. Anything. So how we go about doing it, you know, it holds a high level of relevance, but ultimately to the person who has a strong why, it has no relevance. No matter how hard it is, no matter what we throw at them, they're all in. And I get them to reestablish that why every single time, or every few weeks. I go back to what's the aim and why do you want to achieve it? All the time. It's like they've got to reestablish it all the time. And I want them to constantly think about that why and constantly go back to it. Because when shit gets hard, I want you to think about it again. Okay, I'm doing this because my why. This really sucks today, but here's why I'm doing it. constantly in the back of your mind. So, okay, I know it sucks, but I've got to go and do it
Yeah.
because of my why. And I think that's the strong and most powerful thing you do whenever you have an aim is think why you want to go and do it. And if that's big enough and strong, and if it's not, think of a new aim. If you haven't got a strong enough reason to go and achieve that, if you just want to do it because everyone else is doing it, you're gonna sack it at some point. When it gets a little bit hard, you're not gonna turn up. It's too easy to just sack it. But if you have a strong enough why, you're gonna stay the course. You're gonna go all in, and that's why I created that presentation. That's why I delivered that at IFS.
Yeah, and I loved it. I thought it was such a powerful way to view things because, like you said, people do get really caught up on the what do they want to achieve, and then the subset of that typically is, well, how am I going to achieve it? And very few people take that next step as to, well, why? What makes it so important? What's going to keep me going? And when you look at you hear about all these things that happen in the world in terms of, you know, like the mum that managed to lift the car off her child, and it's like, well, it wasn't that she looked at, you know, the what does she want to do and how is she going to do it. She didn't care about the how she was going to do it. It was the fact, the reason for needing to do it was so compelling that she found a way. And I think you can break successful people down into those two groups. Like you said, there will be the people that want to achieve things and they will dedicate themselves to the how to achieve it, and they will give everything that they've got to a degree, and they will have an element of success because they fall headfirst and you know, and go headstrong into, how do I achieve this goal, and they'll be dedicated to it. But if they haven't got a compelling enough why, that continued longevity of success will probably diminish. It's the flash in the pan people where they go, there's a method to achieving this and I'm going to fucking do it. And then they achieve it and they go, that was fun. And they kind of come to an end. The people that typically achieve long-term success are the people that, you know, like you said, that are reverse engineering it, have got such a strong, compelling reason for why that they don't give a fuck what the how is, because they're going to do it regardless. Like you know, again, anyone that's achieved any incredible physical achievement, whatever it is, 9 times out of 10, the reason why they did it is because of their reason why, and they could have been told that the path to achieving it is XYZ that makes it impossible, no one's ever done it. But if the reason why is big enough, somebody will achieve it. And I think it's such a powerful message, because again, it comes back to what we were saying earlier in terms of the mindsets of, you know, elite athletes who, you know, and the top 1% who have longevity and success. It is that mindset, and you don't need to be a top 1% athlete to view things in that way. And I think if more people who have goals, whether they're general population, whether they're athletes, whether they're competitive, whether it's just to look and feel a bit better, whether it's to be healthier, I think more people need to take a step back and actually identify what is the compelling reason for why they're going to do it, because it would definitely help the fitness industry in general, because a lot less people would fall into these yo-yo diets of, I'll do it for a bit until it's shit, because they're more likely to adopt a better approach because it's more important to them. They want that long-term success, so they're going to look at the more objective manner of achieving it. But also it does mean for those that do perhaps go for slightly more aggressive diet protocols and stuff, that actually they're still more likely to be successful because they remember why they're doing it. All too often people are just focused on the what do they want to achieve. I want to look better because I'm going on holiday. Okay, but why is that important? You know, what's your compelling reason? What are you going to do when you get back? Like, do you only care about how you look for those 2 weeks that you're off to the Bahamas, or do you actually give a fuck about how you look and feel, and how that then translates into your life in terms of how good a job you do when you turn up to work, how good a job you do of being a parent or a friend or a husband or wife or whatever it is? Because again, I think when you start to actually put yourself first and you have a compelling reason for doing so, whether it's to the level that you work with people on, or whether it's just general population people that want to just look and feel a bit better, I think when you start to actually attribute substantial reason to it, and you begin to appreciate the positive knock-on effect of bettering yourself and trying to be 1% better each day, each week, each month, I think more people would probably realize that they can achieve a fuckload more than what they've got. And it doesn't require making your life miserable and making your life really difficult, but it does require conscious effort. And I think more often than not, people get stuck in that sunk cost fallacy, where they're like, oh well, I've dug this far down, so it's going to be too difficult to change. And it's like, well, it might feel too difficult to change if A, you don't have a compelling enough reason to change, and B, you're only ever focused on the end goal. Again, coming back to what we spoke about at the start, focus on smaller goals with a compelling enough reason to keep you trying to strive to achieve them, and you can completely redesign your life in a reasonably short space of time, and it won't even feel like you've gone out of your way to do it because the reason was strong enough, so nothing was going to stop you. But too many people go, sounds like hard work, and I've gone down this path and I've got to this point. And I was guilty of it. I worked in sales in the corporate world, selling call center software to the NHS and public sector for 12 or 13 years. And I hated every minute of it, but I got paid incredibly well to do it. So I would focus on the few positives, 6 hours in the car, listening to my favorite music, putting on a concert for one, and up and down the M6. That was fun. But the actual job was shit. The pressure was shit. Hated absolutely everything to do with it. But every time I thought about going into coaching, I would look at it and go, well, it's really difficult because in order to achieve this, I'm going to have to take time out of work. I don't really want to take time out of work. I haven't got enough holiday or whatever it is. And I would come up with all these brilliant excuses for why I couldn't transition. Well, I couldn't move out of something that I hated that paid me well to do something that I loved that has the potential to pay me even better further down the line. And it was that sunk cost fallacy. It was, well, I've dedicated this much time to this now. It's too difficult to start. And I was fortunate that I stumbled across a course that was it was on like a Groupon deal, so it was ridiculously cheap, but it was fully online, so I could do it on my own time. And I just dedicated 6 months every night, just do a couple of hours of my course, and then once I got qualified, just started coaching along the side of doing my full-time job. And I ended up getting to a point where I was like, well, it's make or break. Now the business is not going to grow any further than it is if I keep doing this job, and if I keep doing this, if I want the business to grow further, I can't continue to do the job that I'm doing. So I took the educated guess and jumped before I was pushed. And I've spoken about that on previous episodes. But again, for me, it was like, if I'd have focused and continued focusing on how long it would take to qualify, how much time I need or would be able to dedicate to coaching, I probably never would have left the job that I was in. But instead, I found a way of being able to do a little bit each day. And then over a period of probably 18 months, ended up in a position where I was like, fuck, I can actually now do this. And again, it was that, I think if more people can adopt that approach, the small goals, the little wins, the breaking it down, and you couple that with a compelling enough reason, there would be a much happier society. I genuinely believe.
A much more successful one. You'll achieve more. People will achieve more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I find it quite amusing in society. I don't want to go too political with it, but I find it amusing in society that those who have got an awful lot of wealth, particularly, this is more with regards to people who are kind of more self-made from the entrepreneurship, but society in general tends to view them slightly negatively. Oh, just tax the rich, they've got enough money. And it comes from, in my opinion, a bit of a bitterness on the basis that a lot of people, rather than spending a few years working really hard to build something that ultimately will look after them in the future, opt for the safety net of working for somebody else. They opt for the easy road in the short term, which actually promotes that long-term pain, because they're never going to be able to break past the ceiling that they're in. The way they get to the next paycheck or the next pay grade is they have to wait for the person above them to leave and an opportunity to open up, and you're just forever filling the next gap that becomes available. So it's really easy to look at those who have worked their fucking arse off and are in a position that you'd love to be in and be like, oh, it's all right for them, fucking pricks. But actually, if more people took the step back and went, well, how did they get there? They just began doing things daily for themselves that benefit themselves from a long-term perspective, help them better themselves. They try to do a little bit more, and it became something massive. And I think society in general would be more successful. It would be happier. We would probably have less people needing to rely on things like food banks and what have you, if more people looked at their life in a slightly different way and went, oh, actually, what would I like to achieve? Why do I want to achieve it? And how can I achieve that, rather than falling into that sort of classic safety net of I'm just going to do what's kind of gets me halfway there and is the easiest route. Because again, I'm a firm believer that the easy option may feel easy in the short term, but typically the easy option is normally the one that does you the most harm long term, and the harder option typically does you a bit more pain and suffering up front, but you front load the shit for a long term positive payoff at the back end. And a lot of people just go, I'll just go for the easy road right now. I'll worry about when it's shit later. I went on a bit of a ramble there.
It was good, mate. It was interesting.
But yeah, I mean, so I think we're at sort of about an hour or so in, aren't we? So probably a good time to begin to round things off, to be honest. I'm incredibly grateful for having you on. Like I said, the whole reason behind it came from the talk in terms of, from IFS focusing on more so about the why and allowing that to enable you to figure out the how to achieve what it is that you want to do. And I'm just really, really grateful that you've come on and shared that insight, because I think it's so powerful and I think so many people can benefit from that. And it's also great just getting that insight in terms of how you help even everyday people to adopt a more athlete focused mindset to just strive to better themselves and to not get stuck in that sort of mediocrity and just going through the motions. I think it's incredibly powerful. So thank you so much for coming on and having that chat. It's been fucking brilliant. Before we disappear, just let everybody know in terms of where they can find you and what have you.
Yeah, no worries, man. And I really appreciate you having me on, mate. It's I really enjoyed it, mate. And you can find me at Coach Mike Chadwick across the board, whether that's Instagram, YouTube, but I think most of them. I'm the CEO and founder of the Red On Performance Center, which most people come across before they come across me. And yeah, if you need any help or guidance on anything, I may not know the answer, but I'll definitely know someone who does know the answer, and I'll point you in the right direction. But yeah, that's what I do on social media now, is literally just help people. The business takes care of itself now, so I'm just there to just provide guidance and inform people on what they need to know. Majority starts with what I've just said there: find your why, and then you'll find a way anyway.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Absolutely love that. Again, thanks for coming on. Thanks for everybody obviously listening. Make sure you give it a like, a share, and all that good stuff. And definitely go and check out Mike on social media, because yeah, the man knows his shit. And if nothing else, you'll probably feel far more inspired to go and do that thing that you've been putting off for some time, and not just to do it, but to do it fucking well. So mate, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for coming on, and I will see everybody on the next episode.
Pleasure, mate. Thank you.